Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. Give me 1 second to sort out the lag, and we are away. It is the 1st of April. Now, I'm going to let you in a little secret. There will be no April Fool's jokes today. Absolutely none whatsoever. I am not going to do that to you. I know many of you want to have a $200,000 Bitcoin, $20,000 Ethereum. I am not going to play a practical joke on anybody today. So good morning. I will say good morning to everybody in chat. I know Danny is here, Mags is here, KB, Kishan, Hidden, Velvet. Who else is here? I think Peter is here as well. Good morning to you all. I hope you're really doing quite well today. We have a busy show today, and we're going to try and switch it up a little bit. We're not going to sit here and moan about Bitcoin. We're not going to sit here and talk too much about the fact that this could very well be a dead cat bounce. I still haven't changed my opinion, by the way, on the fact that we are going to go down. Now, we're at 84,000, I think. Yesterday, during the stream, we went to 81.6. I think we need to get to Wednesday, and then we need to assess. As I said yesterday, there's a very good chance that Donald Trump is going to negotiate, and they're going to negotiate some trade deals between now and Wednesday. So when Wednesday arrives, it's not going to be as tough as everybody expects, but the markets are not going to price in any negotiations. If you look at the futures, the NASDAQ is going to open up 4% down today. It was going to open up 4% down yesterday. It rallied, it went up, and now it's come back down again. So the futures are predicting another red day on the stock market. The red day on the stock market and everything else in the macro should not be seeing Bitcoin going to $92,000, $94,000. Let's be very clear about that. But if we get past Wednesday and we get past Friday, then I am still bullish. This is not long-term bearish. I am long-term bullish. I just think we're going to have a crappy week. That's all there is to it. So what we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about Larry Fink. We're going to talk about mining and what the Trump family are up to. We're going to talk about XRP a little bit. We're going to talk about Circle. I'm going to show you just how much money they make. We're going to talk about World Limited Finance. We're going to talk about the MetaMask card. And we're going to talk about a new token that launched yesterday called Guns with a Z. Got to be careful these days what you say on the stream. So a busy show. We have the X-Files, of course, and we have the markets. Overall, then, I'm still bearish for the next 36 hours, 48 hours. I still have my short open that I opened at 82.3, I think it was. So I'm still bearish. I haven't changed my opinion, and the title of the show today is Dead Cat. I think this is a bit of a dead cat bounce. But there we go. Let's see where we get to today. Now, I also, everything is moving very slowly today, and I'm not too sure why. Everything is very, very slow. I don't know if CoinMarketCap has updated or what. Maybe I'll switch to CoinGecko in the future. But Bitcoin is coming in above 84,000. A nice bounce. Ethereum trying to get back above 1900. XRP holding on to $2. I was absolutely certain we were going to break $2 yesterday to the downside. Solana coming in back above 126. Doge is Doge. Cardano is hanging on to 9th place. But look how close Tron is to flipping Cardano. It's a sneeze away from flipping. So Cardano could fall to 10th. And then, I think I mentioned this maybe a week or so ago, the gap between the top 10 cryptocurrencies and everything else is vast. If you think that Chainlink would have to 2.5x to catch Cardano, for example, is incredible. And I don't know when this diversion of top 10 and everything else happened, but it has caused this kind of elite tier cryptocurrency where, if you think about it, you've only really got 8 coins because you could take out USDC, You can take out Tether. You've only got 8 cryptocurrencies with a market cap of over 10 billion. Tron, Cardano, Doge, Solana, BNB, XRP, Ethereum, and Bitcoin. That's it. Everything after that, you start to fall away. So, interesting. Something I noticed the other day I'm going to keep an eye on, because the next pretender that comes through the ranks, they're going to have to go some to break into that top 10. And remember, Ton got there and fall all the way back down. Right then, let's move on. What is gaining and what is losing today? Let's keep an eye on some things. There we go. Okay, so the coin that I won't mention is up 35%. Curve is up. EOS, again, EOS is going through a rebrand. That coin is going to have a bit of a run. It's becoming a Web3 bank. Keep an eye on EOS. Go and do some research. I'm not going to buy any. Certainly not going to buy any more. Don't have any room in my portfolio to buy them. Sonic is back at 52 cents. Render, Aave, Bonk, all good solid gains. Lots of green days today. And remember, when all of this tariff news goes by the by, when we get the rate cuts and when we get QE, then all of these coins are going to absolutely soar. Now, they're not going to soar to all-time highs, but they're going to reclaim a lot of the prices, a lot of the prices they got to December time, January time. Jupiter is down another 3%. XDC is down. Not many to talk about, really. I think we're having a green day. But like I said, is it a dead cat or is it not a dead cat? That's the one thing to bear in mind. Now, I have another video that I don't remember putting in here. This is it. So this is what it's like getting the streams ready on a Friday with the Oracle, okay? So I am here trying to get the stream ready, okay? And the Oracle just constantly tries to distract me from getting the stream ready. And I just try and get the videos ready. I try and get the menu ready. And then the Oracle just sits there causing chaos in the office. Just disrupting everything. There's flour everywhere. There's broken eggs everywhere. So when the Oracle does his stream on Friday, I expect some retribution. But again, this is what it's like working with the Oracle. This is what it's like working with geniuses. Okay, that's the problem. Anyway, let's move on. I don't know if you've ever seen that guy. He makes cakes with his cow. It's hilarious to watch. All big corrections, their durations and main narratives. Why so far this cycle? Again, this isn't the first time we've had this drop. And we've said time and time again that you get roughly 30% corrections in a bull run. 7, okay? Not 1, not 2, 7. Now, last time I counted, which was, I think, December, end of December, maybe January time, I think we'd had 4. This will be, what, the 5th, maybe? And there they are there. 17 days, 117 days, 12 days. It varies in length, but you do get them. Now, look at the one we've had so far. The post-inauguration, that's been a fairly long one compared to the previous 2. So we are going to see these drops. Bitcoin does not go up and to the right for 6 months and then it just falls away. We get these drops along the way. I mean, between the ETFs and September, October last year, we had 8 months of sideways action, and it was sideways and down. We didn't do anything. Then we got the violent move up. If you look at the history of Bitcoin, it very rarely just goes sideways and up to the right. It kind of crabs and crabs and crabs, moves to the downside, and then there is an explosive move, 10 or 15% to the upside, and then it crabs and crabs and crabs. And that's just how Bitcoin moves. It doesn't go up very often. For an asset that got to over $100,000 from, what, $3,000 9 years ago, it doesn't go up very often. But when it goes up, it's violent, and there's a massive move, and it catches everybody by surprise. So bear that in mind. If you came to Bitcoin and you were expecting to just watch it go up every day, it doesn't. It just doesn't go up every day. Right then, now, I include this maybe once a week. The top 8 companies increased their Bitcoin allocation by 26,000 last week. 450 a day are being made. 26,000 plus disappeared into this top list. Now, again, this top 75 was a top 70. It was a top 50. It was a top 20. These are all the companies. Now, what's interesting, I was looking at this last night. What's interesting is not the same names. I don't know if you can see that on the screen. Make it a little bit bigger. What's interesting on here is not the same names. We know about Strategy B. But look now at the companies who are not American companies starting to hold Bitcoin. You have Japanese companies. You have Canadian companies. You have an Argentinian company. And you've got German companies. This is the shift again. It creeps up on you. 12 months ago, this was a completely different list. The top 3 or 4 or the 5 were always going to be the same because they're so far ahead. But look at the non-American based companies now. I think you've actually got Brazilian companies in there as well. This doesn't also include the Bitcoin held by the UK, by America, by China. This is individual private companies. And they hold a lot of Bitcoin. And remember, as long as 450 a day plus disappear out of the supply, we are slowly eating away at the amount of Bitcoin that people can buy. If we have a net of less than 450, then we are going to see the supply increase. But we're not seeing that. We're seeing it being eroded by multiple actors. And you keep an eye on this. And like I said, maybe we're going to see Meta Planet here. They're probably going to break 5, 6, 7, 8, 10,000 Bitcoin within the next 12 months to 18 months. We're going to see the likes of GameStop. They're going to buy an awful lot of Bitcoin as well. So this is going to change over time. But like I said, look at all the different flags of countries we're starting to see buy Bitcoin. It's a big shift. Okay? A big shift from USA-centric to a global mix of companies buying. Right then. Good morning, Bullish Bull. Don't forget to vote on Dupe. I put that into Telegram on Sunday, indeed. Right then. Now, Peter Schiff is the gold bug. He talks about nothing but gold. He gets community noted all the time, and he does this for attention. Now, down here, he's been community noted. Or they bought Bitcoin. Had they bought gold, they would have underperformed. By buying Bitcoin, they've outperformed gold by 2.3 times the return that they would have got had they put it into gold. So he does this for attention. He's an attention seeker, and he knows if he talks about gold, nobody is going to buy his product because nobody's going to see it. If he talks about Bitcoin and he badmouths Bitcoin all the time, people are going to talk about Peter Schiff and his company. Right then, again, Tom Lee, Bitcoin is heading to 150,000 or higher as Fed cuts rates. 80,000 is a time to stack. Now, I don't necessarily agree with all of these bull posts, 400,000, 500,000. I don't necessarily agree with that. But this chap here, you know what? I agree with this. If you can get Bitcoin at 78, 80, 82,000, it's an incredible time to buy. If you think that we are going to go to 150,000 or 120 or 140, whatever it might be, you're going to turn potentially $10,000 into $18,000 or $20,000 by the end of the year. I don't think that's a bad return, okay? And that's in Bitcoin, the number one asset. We're not saying to go and buy exotic token or Libra. We're talking about the number one asset. And I actually think this is a very, very sensible statement, a lot more sensible than a lot of people have pointed out. But I just think we've got another week or so of pain. That's all. Maybe even only 4 days of pain. There's news coming out today There's news coming out tomorrow and there's news coming out on Friday. Lots of news coming out that are going to shape the next few weeks. Right then, moving on. This is Joe Exotic. Joe Exotic. Okay, I told you that this was not something you want to buy. It's a pump and dump. And to be fair, it probably hasn't cost a lot of people a lot of money because I don't think it actually got too high. I only think it went to, where did it get to? 800,000 or something like that. It got to just under $1 million and it's died a death. So he was telling you to buy. Here, he sold. Here, you got dumped on. Okay? Don't buy a coin because it's got a famous person on it. Don't buy a coin because you happen to like them in the 80s or the 90s. Don't buy a coin because they made one of your favourite songs. Don't do it. We told you it was going to happen. It happened. I don't know if that happened before, during, or after our stream, but it was always going to happen. Now, very quickly, one of the sponsors of the channel, or we are an ambassador, should we say, of them, is Maple Finance. Their active loans are going up. The TVL that they have is nearly at $800 million. So just to show you where we are with Maple Finance. If you don't know what Maple Finance is, they are a yield-bearing, over-collateralized institutional loan provider. Very, very big words. But basically, they are now $8 million away from hitting 1 billion TVL. Now, just to put that into context, Ondo, one of my favorite tokens, was at a billion or 1.1 billion maybe a month ago. So they're on the tail of Ondo. This is not a small company. So if you haven't checked out Maple, if you haven't checked out the Syrup token, I highly suggest you go and have a look. And again, logos on the screen. You can see Mew, you can see Maple. They're the two sponsors of this particular stream. Right then, moving very quickly on. BlackRock CEO warns US dollar could lose to Bitcoin. BlackRock boss has sounded the alarm over ballooning US national debt. Again, the one thing that the people don't care about is the servicing debt. How much does the American government have to pay to service its debt in interest payments? Now, as far as I was aware, this year or last year, the amount of money that they were having to pay off the debt or pay the interest off on their debt actually exceeded the amount they were spending on their military. I'm not 100% certain on that fact, but I think it's something like that. Now, of course, that's only paying the interest. What they next have to do is they have to refinance their debt, and they can't refinance their debt if interest rates are so high. So what has to happen is Powell has to come in, slash interest rates, turn QE on, and then they can reservice their debt. And again, it is a lot of smoke and mirrors. I must admit, I went and we did this on the stream. You probably remember 9 months ago. We went and looked at the national debt of America and we looked at the national debt of the UK. And if you look at the debt, the foreign debt that the UK has, if you look at the foreign debt that America has, it's peanuts. Who did they owe the money to? Ask yourself that question. You go and look it up on Wikipedia and you will find that they owe themselves the money. A lot of American debt, and in some cases UK debt, is owed to different departments within the American system. It's owed to other American financial institutions. It's not really, America doesn't owe China $26 trillion. They're not in debt to China for that amount of money. The UK isn't in debt to Germany for its trillion or $900 billion of debt. So there's a lot of smoke and mirrors to do with debt. And it's all basically accounting numbers. But they still have to service the debt. They still have to pay the interest on it. According to BlackRock boss, Bitcoin might emerge as more preferable investment option than the US dollar. Decentralized finance could potentially undermine the economic advantage that the US currently enjoys, according to Fink. That I totally disagree with. Everything is built on stable coins and US dollar stable coins. America is bringing everybody that can do anything into America. The exchanges are going to go there. The stable coins are there. XRP is there. Cardano is there. Ethereum is going to end up there. Chainlink is going to end up there. How is America going to lose out on this? America isn't going to lose out as far as I'm concerned. What it might lose out on is a little bit of control over the market. So in 2024, the asset manager said that the Bitcoin ETF was wildly successful. We talked about that. This is what we're talking about. So the US national debt is 36 trillion, surpassing the size of the country's economy. Federal interest payments are expected to top $1 trillion next year. They will then have to take action to address the debt limit by either raising or suspending it. According to Congress Budget Office, a potential default is looming this summer. Again, for those of you that don't know, it defaults every year pretty much. Maybe 6 times out of 8 it will default. It defaulted under Biden, it defaulted under Trump before that. I think it even defaulted as far back as Clinton, as far back as Obama. It's just one of those things. And everything goes to the last minute. The Democrats and the Republicans, they argue, and then they agree in the end. It's pantomime at the end of the day. So the case here is, very simply put, is Bitcoin going to replace the dollar? No, it isn't. Is the dollar going to be backed by some element of Bitcoin reserves? Yes. The same way that it's got gold, the same way that it has oil, the same way that it has other commodities. It's going to be added to that basket. Of course it is. And of course, if Bitcoin does go up in value to the numbers that Michael Saylor predicts, then the US debt will be not wiped out, but balanced in the next 20 or 30 years again. Right then, American Bitcoin is here. The official launch is today. Eric Trump and Hut Group have a team which are creating a Bitcoin mining company. Now, we talked about World Liberty Finance, and we're going to talk about that later on as well. But this is a new stroke old mining company, okay? And this is being done in partnership with the Trump sons. So, we knew what we were getting when Donald Trump became the president of America. We knew that he was going to take advantage of the fact that he was numero uno, the top dog, the OG, the man in orange, Mr. Cheeto. He was going to be the top dog. He was also going to take advantage of the possibilities that he had as the president of America. And one of them is called is World Liberty Finance, of which they own 60%. I'm going to talk about that in a bit. And they've taken a 20% stake in US mining venture, 61,000 ASIC rigs and big ambitions. They've taken a small chunk. They've also bought a small percentage in an exchange that I can't mention the name of. So they are actively pushing crypto, number one. And number two, they're actively taking part in the industry, which means more than anything that crypto isn't going to be frowned upon for the next 4 years. There they are. Okay, now, of course, Donald Trump can't have his head on this. Of course he can't, because he's the president of America. But his sons can, his daughters can, and Hut 8 is going to be, they're going to get whatever they need to be able to do this and make this a success, okay? Trump is likely to remove legislation to allow this to happen if they need it. They're going to be allowed to set this up. They're going to be one of the major players. And again, he's taking advantage of what he's up to. He's taking advantage of where he is. And this is a good move for America, okay? They want Bitcoin to be made in America. He wants to come out, maybe in a year's time, and say 55% of the hash rate of Bitcoin is in America. And he's going to say Bitcoin is born in America. He's going to come out with his nice snazzy slogan and basically claim victory. And that's what he's going to do. And this is just another move by his family. And again, this move here, this is about generational wealth. By the time his tenancy is over, I expect the Trump family to be 4, 5, 10 times richer than they are today. Instead of being worth 1 or 2 billion, I expect them to be worth 10 or 20 billion. Okay? That is what you have to expect from a Republican president. It's just how it's going to work. And if you're in crypto, if you hold Bitcoin, you're going to win. And it's as simple as that. And crypto is going to win. And that's at the end of the day, all this channel cares about is crypto getting adopted and being regulated. That's all we care about. Now then, Ethereum compatible XRP ledger sidechain now live on testnet. The first of its kind sidechain brings Ethereum smart contracts and the XRP ledger. Remember, one of the things that XRP is trying to do is put its tentacles out into other chains, whether it be Solana, Cardano, or Ethereum. Ethereum is obviously the number one. It's got the most liquidity going on over there. That's where they want to get. So the XRP ledger is going to be connected up to Ethereum. So they've announced a testnet version of an Ethereum-compatible sidechain for the XRP ledger is now officially live. The company says the milestone has been completed in collaboration with Ripple, the development arm of Ripple, Web3 interoperability platform, Alexa Network, and blockchain science firm Common Prefix. The first of its kind sidechain aims to unlock the potential of decentralized finance on XRPL, the name of their ledger, and it uses the Ripple-linked XRP cryptocurrency as its native token. Again, bullish news. Why? Because XRP on its own isn't going to be able to win. It needs to have access to Ethereum DeFi. It needs access to Cardano. It needs access to Solana and all the users on Solana. Why can't you have XRP in your Phantom wallet? Why can't you stake your XRP in an Ethereum DeFi product? These are really simple questions. Now, we know the answer. You know, XRP isn't native to Ethereum. XRP isn't native to Solana. But why can't you do what you do on a centralized exchange? Why can't you use Ethereum on Solana? Why can't you use Solana on Cardano? Those are the types of questions that people who aren't in crypto ask the question to. And that's where interoperability comes along. If we have the ability to either bring the DeFi products to the XRPL platform, or we have the ability to unlock the potential of XRP, then you have the best of both worlds. There are people out there that have got 100, 200,000 XRP that don't want to sell it. Well, at the minute, they can go to Maple Finance, which is obviously the stream sponsor, and they can use and get XRP-backed loans. But what happens if you don't want a loan? What happens if you want to stake it and earn a yield off it? XRP has to interact with other chains for it to be a success. Okay, it is stronger when it is connected up to everybody else. So this is massive news for me. And remember, some of these types of headlines, they're going to be Solana compatible XRP ledger side lane now live on test. Now that's going to be another one, or Cardano is going to be there. So it's not just going to be one and done with Ethereum or an Ethereum or with Arbitrum or Optimism or anything like that. It's going to build out over time. Remember, the XRP ledger, it added smart contract functionality about 6 to 9 months ago, relatively new. And as far as I'm aware, Cardano was one of the first to talk to them about adding some kind of Cardano influence in there. And of course, why does XRP want to go to Cardano? Because Cardano is linking itself up to Bitcoin. So you will have Ethereum, Cardano, XRP, Solana, and they'll all be connected together using either Chainlink or their own bespoke software applications, whatever you want to call it. Now then, this is big news, and one of the first that we would expect to see, and that is the IPO season. So we had the airdrop season last year, the year before we had the airdrop season. We are going to have ETF season as well, probably towards the end of summer, beginning of autumn. And the IPO season is going to begin, and there are multiple names that are going to have an IPO. People have talked about a couple of the exchanges IPOing. Obviously, can't mention the names of those. People have talked about Ripple, they're going to have an IPO. Circle are going to have an IPO. Now, just to bear in mind, an IPO doesn't mean that this company is going to 10x in value, because if you look at what happened with Coin, that didn't do very well. I think that launched at $350, and then it fell below $100 or $120 at one point. So just because it's an IPO, it doesn't mean that it's going to go from a 2 billion valuation to a 20 billion valuation. It just means that there are shares issued on the stock market, and then they have to produce all of the reports and all those kind of good things. Now, Circle is the second largest stable coin in the industry behind Tether, and they are going to use JP Morgan and Citigroup to file for the IPO by April end. Amid growing legislative support for stablecoins, Circle's pursuit of a $4 billion valuation aligns with improving US IPO conditions. And again, once a lot of these crypto companies get IPOs and get listed on the stock exchange, it's validation. That's another thing. It's validation that this is a legitimate business, a legitimate industry. So in 4 years' time, if Mr. Cheeto loses and somebody from the Democrat Party walks through and becomes the next president, probably that Gavin Newsom. I think Gavin Newsom's probably the number one candidate for me. Certainly not Harris, and certainly not Ortez or whatever she's called. But Gavin Newsom, I think, has the potential. So let's say he comes into power in 4 years' time. If we've got Tether, Circle, the exchanges that we can't talk about, Ripple, maybe 3 or 4 other companies, if they're all listed on the stock exchange, crypto has grown to such a size where the tax benefits outweigh the risk to the American model, whatever it might be, then I think it's in a strong position. And this is happening 3 months after Trump was inaugurated. And believe you me, Circle have been talking to JP Morgan and Citigroup probably since last year about doing this. XRP, they've been talking about doing this. It's not something that they just thought of last week and decided to announce it. This has been in the works. So they're going to launch their IPO. You're going to have the opportunity to buy shares in Circle. Now, again, we're not going to talk too much about it. I'm going to show you something just so you've got an idea of what we're talking about. Stable coins are still a relatively small market cap. Okay, 234 billion in stable coins. That's it. Bitcoin is at what, 1.6, 1.7 trillion, 1.4 trillion. I don't know what it is now. Ethereum is coming in at what, 300 or 400 billion, maybe even less now. Stable coins are only 234 billion, but they are growing. They are growing year on year. And if you look down this list, there are now a lot more stable coins than there were 12 months, 24 months, 36 months ago. Why do you need stable coins? It brings liquidity. It means you can sell your Bitcoin into USDC, sit on the side, wait for a correction, and then buy back in. So it's an escape to a currency which won't be as volatile as Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana. So if Solana hits $300, you sell your Solana, you sell it for USDC, you sit there in dollars, you wait for the price of Solana to go down, and then you buy back in. Very simple. In the past, for example, on Solana, before stablecoins really got there, you were selling the coins into Solana. Or on Cardano, you sell the coins and you buy ADA. But ADA is just a little bit less volatile than the coin you've sold, but still volatile. So if there's a market correction to the downside, you need these stable coins. And again, 234 billion isn't an awful lot, but you can see on here, USDC is number 2. There are some coins that have come out of nowhere. Ethena wasn't here this time last year. Sky Dollar wasn't here this time last year, as far as I'm aware. Maybe it's only a year old. You've got DAI, that's been around for a while. You'll have Pied and a few other things. So that's the makeup. It's the second largest. And if we go over here, you will see the breakdown of USDC. It's coming in at $60 billion. So the $60 billion, and this is where the USDC exists. You'll see the majority is on Ethereum, followed by Solana, and then Base and a few other chains. So USDC, second biggest. The majority of it is on Ethereum, where most of the liquidity is. They're going to list. They're going to get their valuation. Remember, they make money off basically buying American gilts, bonds, treasuries, which pay them 3 or 4%. That's how they make their money. And they make money by economies of scale. If they were valued as, if they had 100 billion in stable coins, they'd be making 3 or 4 billion a year in interest. So it's big money, and it should be one of the first IPOs, because I think it's one of the most obvious business plans. They take $1,000 and mint it on the blockchain, and then they take the same $1,000 that exists in their bank account and they stick it into gilts, earning 3 or 4%. You know where they're making the money, and you know the money is backed, because that $1,000 that exists in Web3 is backed by $1,000 in real life, in real world treasuries. So it's such a simple business model that it can't not fail, really. It can't not fail. You can mismanage them, of course you can. But it's I think it'll IPO, and I think if you think that maybe, let's say Bitcoin goes to $500,000 in 10 years' time, you're probably looking at a 20x in the size of USDC and USDT, because we're looking at stable coins for more than just crypto now. It's more than just a side chain that you go and buy when you buy a Bitcoin. It will be used by treasuries. So Apple, Microsoft, Alphabet, they'll all use stable coins. So it's more than just a $230 billion asset. It's probably going to be a $2 or $3 trillion asset class if you separate that out in the next maybe 10 years, because real money will move into Web3. Treasuries will move into Web3, and they might not want to hold their treasury in Bitcoin because it's volatile. They might want to hold it in stable coins. Well, that's going to help the American economy. It's going to help the American government prop up the treasuries market. It helps them because it becomes fluid and it can move faster over Web3. There aren't too many negatives to having stable coins. Of course, they need to be audited. Of course they do. But that's what this legislation that Trump is going to sign into power is going to do. Now then, the family has a 60% stake in World Liberty Financial. We've covered this before, but I want to show you and remind you about their portfolio again, because we haven't done this for a couple of weeks. And given that everything that is happening, I just want to make you aware, acutely aware of what they are buying. Good morning, Tariq. I hope you are well. I hope you are good. Actually, that's a very good point. My wife has just messaged me and reminded me to keep my phone on because DHL are coming today. So I'm glad I got a message. So there he is, Mr. Cheeto, Mr. Orange Man himself. They have got a 60% stake in World Liberty Finance. Now, they launched a token, the WLF token. It's not redeemable. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't pay a yield. And they are getting 75% of the $550 million of it. So again, what's that? Let's just call it $400 million they're getting for launching this token. Now, this is the interesting part, and this is why I wanted to bring this up. Not that they own it, but all we've shown you today is that Trump is doing his best to extract as much value from crypto as possible. He's had his meme coin. He's made money out of that. He's changing the legislation to get crypto companies onboarded. They sponsored his election. His family have taken a 20% stake in a Bitcoin mining company. They have World Liberty Financials, which is a place where you can go and invest into cryptocurrency via them. They're going to launch their own stable coin. They're going to have their own ETFs. Okay, so everything that you see Trump is doing himself. Now, how do you benefit from that? They're signposting what they are buying. They are signposting it through World Liberty Financial. Now, you will see that there was a massive change here. Now, I don't know if this is a reporting error on drops. I haven't looked at this in too much depth, and I don't really care at the minute because we know what they're investing in. Now, this is the list of projects that Trump and their family, and his family, is invested in. And this is what is important. Because if you want to get into some cryptocurrencies, and you want to get into ones which you think will do okay, but you're not too sure, you keep hearing about all of these weird and wonderful projects, but you don't know what to buy, I don't think that buying this portfolio here is a bad move, because it's going to have the weight of the President of America behind it. It's going to have the weight of the Trump family behind it. And you'll see some very, very recognizable names that we've talked about on here before. Why? Because a lot of these projects in here have a really easy to understand revenue and profit business. That's why we like companies that make money and make a profit, because that's all that really matters. In 10 years' time, the majority of chains that we've looked at, they're all going to die. They're going to get no attention, which means they'll have no revenue, no profit, and they'll die. 90% of the top 1,000 cryptocurrencies that you see today will not be here by 2030. And that is just a fact, okay? There will be another 900 projects come along in that time. Of course there will. And some of those will catch on. But the majority of them are dead, and they will die. And the job is to jostle for eyeballs, jostle for attention. So being on this list is like getting a golden ticket to Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, okay? And yes, I've just compared Trump to Willy Wonka. Link, yep. Aave, yep. ENA, not a fan. Ondo, we talk about all the time. Ethereum, Move, Wrapped Bitcoin. Why Wrapped Bitcoin? Because Wrapped Bitcoin can earn a yield through the likes of Aave. Tron is on there because Justin Sun has been greasing Trump's palms. Then we have Mantle, that's a new one to be mentioned. Then we've got some stable coins, AVAX, and then White, which I know very little about. So that's the list. Now, these are the coins that they have been buying and how many they have been buying. The amount is on the right-hand side, which you probably can just about see. So in February, they bought some Ondo and some Move. They bought some Mantle, some AVAX, more Mantle. Again, this is a solid list of tokens to look at. And again, not financial advice, but the majority of coins on here. Who's behind Ondo? BlackRock. Why is Ethereum on here? Because it's the largest DeFi platform in the world. It's the one that will generate them the most stable yield. Who is BlackRock going to use to launch the majority of their new products? Ethereum. All of the people that are moaning about Ethereum and saying it's going to go to zero need to understand either everybody in TradFi has got this wrong, which is a possibility, or we are not seeing their plans for Ethereum, because everybody's going to Ethereum. Wrapped Bitcoin, wrapped to where? It's wrapped on Ethereum. It's all going to Ethereum, every bit of it. I would hazard a guess that the BlackRock, what's it called now? I suppose it's not really a DEX. The BlackRock exchange that's going to launch, the Web3 one, I would pretty much be certain that that's going to launch on some element of Ethereum somewhere. It's not going to launch on Solana, it's not launching Cardano, it's going to launch on Ethereum. It's a really solid project to look at, and I would recommend going and looking at that. I hold a few of those tokens. Some of them I don't hold. I don't hold any Aave or Move. I don't hold any Athena. I do hold Ondo. I do hold Chainlink. And of course, I've got Bitcoin as well. So go and check that out. Not financial advice. Of course, it's not. Right then, let's move on very quickly to talk about this. MetaMask card goes live in Argentina, a major step for crypto adoption. Why does this matter? Because if they're going to launch this they're going to launch it in a territory that isn't going to cause reputational damage to MetaMask. They are not going to launch this in America. They're not going to launch this in America until in Europe, sorry, until it's tried and tested. So they've picked a reasonably large market in Argentina. Milei wants to get in on the crypto action. Excuse me. So they've gone live in a reasonable market, but if it goes wrong, it's not the end of the world for MetaMask. Now, they have collaborated with MasterCard and banks, which we've known about for a while. This will allow users to spend crypto directly from the wallet at millions of merchants worldwide where MasterCard is accepted. The card follows successful launches in the UK. I have never seen this card in the UK. Brazil, Mexico, and Colombia. Argentina now joining it. The launch is on their website, referencing a merge event in Buenos Aires. This isn't just a card, it's a movement. Oh my days. That is a headline straight out of the 1990s, isn't it? This is not just a cake. This is a moment. What a load of tosh. Really. So it's launched. I don't know anything about this in the EU. I don't know anything about this in the UK. I don't know anyone that's got this in the EU. If it has launched there, it's been a very quiet launch. This is big in South America because it's not going to cause any reputational damage. Expect to see more of this. We're going to get to the point where Phantom card comes out, where Trust card comes out, MetaMask card comes out, Solflare. Every wallet, every non-custodial wallet is going to have one of these cards. Every exchange is going to have one of these cards. Probably every bank is going to have one of these cards. You're going to have more cards than you can shake a stick at in the future. And the gain here is to shop wisely, find the one that gives you the best rewards, find the one that gives you cash back or air miles or free Netflix or whatever it might be. That's what you want to go with. The card that I've got, for example, I haven't paid for Amazon, Netflix or Spotify for about the last 3 years. And I earn a yield on the token and I get 3% cash back. There's no card that I can get that betters that at the moment. But believe you me, if MetaMask comes out and says, we're going to pay you 5% cash back and we will give you free access to, I don't know, Disney, then maybe I'd switch to MetaMask. But again, it becomes a buyer's market. You can then decide to use MetaMask or Phantom or Exchange One or Exchange Two's cards. It's entirely up to you. But again, it's the direction that we're heading in. And the only thing I would say about this is there's KYC involved. So if you have got a non-custodial wallet with all of your Bitcoin in or your Ethereum in or Solana in or whatever it might be, once you connect it up to MetaMask, then the authorities are going to know who you are. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, by the way. I'm not saying that you should be hiding your funds from the authorities. I'm just saying a lot of people use non-custodial wallets to avoid onerous KYC. You know, we've seen problems with many exchanges where every 2 months they keep asking you for KYC, and it is a pain in the backside, I know that. But you're going to have that if you go with one of these cards. You can get anonymous non-KYC cards. I don't know what the fees are like, and I can't see them lasting for very long. Now then, this has just launched. Now, again, you know me. I do not like gaming tokens at all. But this one has made a lot of noise over the last 2 weeks, I would say. And I think it launched yesterday. It's called Guns with a Z. Now, this is, and again, this is like asking me to describe rap music in 2025. This is a game that you can play and you can earn this token. So off the grid, which I imagine is a game, you can play. Dive into a new Extraction Royale, a PvP and a PvE collide in brutal cyberpunk world. Switch limbs, master weapons, extract powerful arsenals, whatever. But look, PS5, Xbox, PC, Mac. It's even on a Mac. I mean, I didn't even know they still made operating systems for Macs. I thought Macs were in museums. They're in the Tate Modern, Max. So anyway, I don't know anything about this. You go around and I imagine you shoot robots with electric guns and things like that. There's a very nice graphic of a man trying to do something. But what's important is down here, this. Introducing an in-game currency. And it's more than just an in-game currency. It's there's also in-game NFTs. So if you eliminate 5 people, you get half a gun. You get 10 if you get first in your in a pre-made squad. You get 2 if you do something with a sword, which I'm not going to mention. And if you extract the hex, you get 2 gun. Now, all amazing prizes, because gun is, of course, a token, which I have here. Something to bring up. And this, like I said, there was an airdrop yesterday. Some people got guns. You can farm it on some exchanges. You can stake and earn guns. And apparently it is the brightest shiner in Web3 gaming. Now, I'm going to give you my opinion again at the end. There's a picture of a man being photographed for some reason. So, influencers like Ninja, which I've heard of. He's the guy with the funny hair. Scump and Westcall, alongside crypto voices such as Alex Svanink and Anthony Scaramucci, have fueled visibility. Okay, so these people have all been paid to talk about this project. The Guns Wallet app enables traditional and Web3 gamers alike to access minting, token claims, asset transfers, all on a mobile. Brilliant. The media buzz has grown. Off the Grid is there. I thought Off the Grid was a racing game. Clearly, I'm wrong. The broader platform of appeal on Forbes, CNET, Cointelegraph, Decrypt, Block, IGN, contributing to elevated public visibility. Engagement has surged. Industry leaders like Alex Scaramucci have publicly backed the project, and we talked about that a minute ago. So this token has launched, and this is the problem. We talk about emissions-based projects. Emissions are inflation. So if you started today with 0 tokens in guns, and there's no tokens in circulation, and every day they give out 500,000 guns tokens. I'm gonna have to change the name. The token's got a terrible name. Okay, it's got a terrible name. I don't even know which one to look at. I don't even know if this is the token. Let me just check the price. If it's the right price, then no. Why is it gone? There we go. Okay. I think this is the right one. Right. Now, it's just come out. Okay. Let me just point now. It's just come out. But I'm going to tell you where the price of this token is going to go. Okay. It's going to do that. And it's going to go to 1 cent. It's going to go to 2 cents. It's going to go to 0. Because emissions are, if every time you play the game, you earn 100 G tokens, what do you do with them? If you've got anything about you, you sell them. What do the 100,000 other people that play this game do? They sell them. The game could be the best game in the world. Star Atlas is the best Web3 game I have seen. This is what's happened to Star Atlas. It's an emissions-based token. If I go back over a very long time, maybe not weekly. Okay, there we go. We're going to keep the Oracle's chart on here, colours on here, just so I can show you. Right, that is what happened to Star Atlas. Okay, it was once up here at 1.2 cents a token. I think it was actually higher than that. If we wait to go all the way back, I think it was as high as like 20 cents maybe. Anyway, look, there we go. This is how long it takes to get these tokens. Look at that. There we go. It did get as high as 22 cents. Okay, this is Star Atlas. Now, I think Star Atlas is a fantastic game. It's a fantastic Web3 community. The token has lost 99% of its value. Guns is going to lose 99% of its value because it's an emissions-based token. So, what that means is, this is the line of Atlas that has been emitted, and this is the price of Atlas. because the more you print, the less it's worth. It's like fiat, okay? It's worth less than it was at the beginning, and it's going to continue to be worth less. So that's Atlas. Now we can go through any one of these gaming tokens that you want to look at, okay? This is WAGMI. Let's have a look. How far back does it go? Daily, okay? This was once worth 6.5 cents. Today it's worth 1 cent. It's lost, what, 80% of its value. Okay. This token was also backed by some influencers who told you how amazing this token was. Well, if the token's that amazing, why has it done that? Because it's an emissions-based token. So the reason I'm bringing this up is you can go and play off the grid. You can earn the guns. You can go and play off the grid and you think this is the best Web3 game. I'm getting these NFTs. I'm getting this token. Okay. The second you get the token, you sell it. This is no better than the tap to earn or click to earn or whatever they're called, these Telegram games that you see. They're all trash. They're all emissions. I tell you now that that is the tokens in supply and that is the price. The more tokens are emitted that do that, the more the price will drop. It's simple because you don't have the demand. Why would you buy a token that you can farm for free? If we want to go all the way back, let's close that down now. If you want to go all the way back to a game that I played for years, just give me 1 second. I want to close that down. Right, there we go. You want to go all the way back to World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft launches. The amount of gold that you get for mining ore or herbing or whatever is maybe 100 gold a stack. Within 6 weeks, it's 1 gold a stack. Why? Everybody mines the gold, everybody mines the ore, everybody farms the herbs, everybody sticks it on the same auction house, and the price just floors. Gaming tokens and gaming projects need to be looked at separately because they're not the same. You can have the greatest game in the world, but if that token is emitting 1 million tokens a day and there's no burn mechanism and it's free to play and there's no revenue model for the project, where do you make money from? Now, let's say you buy the game. Let's say it's $40 to buy the game. That money goes to the development company, development house. They're not going to use that $40 to buy back the token. Very few real-world games, when I mean real-world, I mean real-world online games, like Fortnite, like Roblox and things like that. They're very few where I believe their token would hold any value because you need to hold a certain number of V-Bucks to get the free season pass. Where's the benefit in holding guns? Where's the benefit in holding WAGMI? Where's the benefit in holding Atlas? There isn't. It's an emissions-based project, tokenomic. You sell them. You sell them and you take your money and you run. How many of you are holding NOT coin? How many of you are holding CAT? How many of you are holding DOG? Those tokens, I told you at the time, were going to go to zero. I don't want to go and bring them up now, but I would imagine that they've gone to zero. And I said in a video that I made about NOT that the best it's going to do is go to 2 or 3 cents in the bull run, if it's still around. And I don't even know what the price is now. So if you play a game and they give you tokens, you sell them. You sell them straight away. Because if you don't, the 99,000 people playing that game with you will also sell. And then the sops out there who think this is a great game, I'm going to go and buy 100,000 guns because it's such a good game, I'm going to go and buy all those tokens. They're going to go and spend maybe $10,000 on that token that in 6 months' time is going to be worth $2,000. There's no real tokenomics or economics in holding gaming tokens. It's nearly as bad as meme coins. Not quite. It's nearly as bad as meme coins. Nyan Heroes, brilliant, brilliant game. It does have a burn mechanism and it does have a reason to hold the token. Maybe that will be a success. Big, I think it's called Big Time, has seasons it has a reason to hold on to the token. You can upgrade your characters and all these kind of things, right? You also have to buy things in the game to allow you to farm their token big, okay? So there are some examples out there of buybacks. There are some examples out there of, seasons and things like that, but nothing's really worked. So I think we've pretty much got to the end. Good morning, Hossein. I hope you are well. That is pretty much it. It is 12 o'clock. I suppose we should have a quick look at the time before I go. Sorry, look at the crypto prices before we go. Is Bitcoin still holding on to 84,000? 84.3 as we speak. I should actually just look at the ticker that's on my screen going across the bottom there. 83,500. I don't think it is 83,500. I think it's 84,353. Maybe it's time locked. I don't know. 84,370 we're at right now. Again, I'm not expecting miracles until the end of Wednesday. Then on Friday, we have the unemployment report. The unemployment report on Friday is we want the number to go up. If people are unemployed and wage inflation starts to fall, Chairman Powell has no reason to keep interest rates this high, which means we get a rate cut in April. We get a rate cut in April, I think we're back. We're not back to $120,000, but I think we're back above 90, 92, 94. We just have to hold. Now, 74 is really the number. 72 is really the number I think we need to hang on to. And that sounds like it's a million miles away. It's only 12% from where we are now. And if we get a really bad tariff war on Wednesday, Liberation Day, then we can wick down there. I'm not saying we're going to spend 6 months down there, but we can wick down there. If we can get past Wednesday and get towards Friday without a massive correction to the downside, we've done brilliantly and we should be super happy. And if we get to Friday, just give me 1 second. If we get to Friday and we are still above 80,000 and we get some good jobs reports, then we are away. Anyway, 84 for liquidity. We take it today. I hope so. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you all tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock. I'm going to go and have a coffee now because I feel rough and I don't know why. So take care. Have a great day. See you in the morning. Adios.